Shout out to our friends at VARUN, or VARUN they should call it, for sending us this S20-1 Plus foldable electric bike. Let's talk about some of the features. This is amazing. At this price level, it is amazing they're able to include all these features. So let's take a look. We got fat tires. We've got front and rear fenders, usually extra. We have dual suspension. Suspension here, a spring here, and air shocks in the front. But that's not all. A nice cushy padded seat. The seat is actually really comfortable considering it's a stock seat. Everything's adjustable. Again, it's completely foldable, so you can take it with you, throw it in the back of your car or your SUV and take it anywhere, places you couldn't normally take an electric bike. Front and rear LED lights, brake lights, 7-speed Shimano shifter, and a ton of power. It's a 500-watt motor, peaks out at about 750, but it'll get you, the average size person, I'm about 190 pounds, and it's going to get me up to about 24, 25 miles an hour, which, believe me, is plenty fast enough on these bikes. If you're going any faster than that, you're taking some chances, because the faster you go, you know what happens if, God forbid, you do fall, you know what I mean? So 20 is a pretty good speed, but this thing will hit 24, no problem. It'll handle inclines, they say up to 30% grade. I have no doubt that it could handle that. We're in Florida, we have very few hills here, which is why we live here. We have nice flat ground and a lot of surfing and stuff too. Well, some of these foldable electric bikes are a little too heavy. This weighs in at about 66 pounds. You can lift it up there. Any average person can lift this up, no problem getting this into the back of a car or an SUV. What about the battery? 48 volt, 13 amp hours. How long is it going to last? Really depends on a lot of factors, including how much you pedal. That's the most important thing. How much of an incline you're going over, what kind of terrain you're going over, grass, dirt, or just plain pavement. Are your tires inflated? How much do you weigh? What's the wind doing at that moment? So really hard to answer, but I'd say most electric bikes get you at least 25, 30, 40 miles, even if you're just full on throttle. And this should have no problem doing that as well. If you're going further than that on a bike, what are you doing? I don't know how many people go over 30, 40 miles on a bike. That's a long ride for a bike, but you could do it if you needed to with this bike. So let's take a look at some of the features and take her out for a test drive. First, very, very simple to assemble. Here's how it's done. All right, step one is to attach the handlebars. Piece of cake. This is foldable, so just straighten out that top stem. And this has a nice little gully, a nice little indent, so you really can't put it in the wrong way. Some other bikes, they're completely round, and you can twist yourself around. But this one slides right in, only goes in one way, right down to that bolt, and then snap it in place. You're good to go. Don't worry about adjusting anything. If it's not straight, we'll do that later. This is interesting. The light is actually bolted to the frame, to the front fork. So you have to take that off because you won't be able to squeeze your front wheel in there with that on there. It comes with this protective bolt, which protects the front fork from bending. Just take those two nuts off and then you can discard this. You don't need this for anything. It's just a sample axle. The axle is actually in the front wheel itself, so you can discard this. And what I like to do is I take the nuts off. They do come with lock washers, which is great. It's a nice safety feature in case your nuts work themselves loose. And there's one on each side. Just take all these protective coatings off and take them off. It's a lot easier to slide your front wheel in there. This is your caliper where your brake goes, your disc brake. So make sure that that disc is on the same side as the caliper. This is obviously for people who have never done this before. And pretty simple to do. Lift it up and slide that disc right between the calipers. Should be plenty of room. And then the tricky part is actually dropping the front fork onto the axle itself. And you can see this could be a pain if you have your nuts on there. So just drop it down and it'll find its way in there. Then put your lock washers on. Make sure that they're obviously going towards the inside. They should fit right inside that little hole, and tighten these guys up. You're going to want to tighten these up very, very well, and always check them too before you go out on a ride. This is probably the most prominent cause of bike accidents, not just on electrics, but any bikes, especially if you're going over curbs or bumps or doing jumps. There have been wheels that have flown off because these nuts have worked themselves loose. It happens in any vehicle. So just check them every month or so is probably a good rule of thumb. Some people check them before they ride every time. All right, let's put the front fender on. The rear fender is already installed, so that's a bonus. So this is going to come up behind the front fork, and then your light that you took off a few minutes ago is going to go in front of the fork. And the bolt that you took out of there, hopefully you held on to that. The washer will go through there, and it'll hold that on securely in place so that you can ride at nighttime. You have that nice bright white LED light in the front. It'll guide your way. So just screw that in there. And then the front fender has these two little bolts that go on the side here, which hold it into place and give an ample space to stay away from the tire so it won't rub. And it'll keep all the water and dirts and pebbles and all that stuff away from you. Next step, let's put the pedals on. And you can see that there's a guide on there that tells you which way to turn, because it's not always intuitive. Sometimes if you're going at it backwards, you don't know which way the threads go, and this has a nice little arrow that shows you which way. You want to make sure these are nice and tight too. You don't want those pedals coming off. And add that to your checklist too when you're checking over your bike. The rear LED light, this is a brake light. Very nice, right? Now you will have to hook up the cable, and there's two little arrows in the cable. Once you got this bolted in with the little nuts that are actually on the back of the light itself, you'll plug in that blue cable and make sure that's nice and tight, so that's not going anywhere. And this is going to give you that nice back brake light so people will be able to see you. They don't slam into you. Next step, let's put the seat on. One bolt controls it all. All you have to do is loosen up this bracket. It's like a clamp, and then slide it into the seat. And you'll see how this goes. Keep an eye on it. Otherwise, your seat will be, if you put it on backwards, it looks all weird, and it's going to like face up towards the sun. And believe me, it's not a comfortable ride. So this assembly, this bolt is going to go towards the back of the seat, and then slides on there. You can move this around to find the perfect position for you. Some people like it in a different place. And make sure that is super tight too, because you don't want your seat sliding. So find the right position and then tighten that guy up as tight as you can. And then it goes right into the frame. It's a quick release seat post, so that's nice. And you can twist that little knob on the left-hand side and tighten that up nice and tight so it won't go anywhere. Now let's straighten out the handlebars. Make sure that they are exactly where you want them, where it's super comfortable for you. The only way to really do this is to sit on the bike, put the seat up at about where you think you're going to ride it, and then lock it into place. Just tighten those guys as tight as you can get them as well. Not super, super tight, but it's just tight enough that you know they're not going to come loose, because you don't want that coming loose when you're riding, because that'll surprise you and that could cause a crash as well. Let's power it up. Time to power it up. Now there's a key that goes on the bottom. This will not work with the key. They give you two of them, so don't lose these. So the trick is here, there's a couple of different things. Each position does something different. One unlocks the battery, but to turn the power on, what you need to do is when you're sitting forward, it's just one click to the left. You don't have to push it in. If you push it in, it won't go. You need to push it in if you're taking the battery out. So just one click to the left, don't push it, and it will power up using the M button. Just hold the M button for about a second. Here's your pedal assist levels, your up and down. And if you hold both the pedal assist, the two buttons together, it will enter into a menu, and you can make some changes to your settings there. And make sure that the right twist throttle works and it looks good. It will not operate unless you're in any one of the pedal assist modes. All right, it's time for our first ride. Let's take it out, fire it up, take all those protective coatings out, because this is our bike now. It's part of us. It's one with us. So let's go ahead and throw it into pedal assist 5. And the best way to do this, to be honest, is ride it like a bike first. Don't even turn the power on, and ride it, get to feel it, make sure you've got the balance of it. It does feel real good. It's got a real good sense of balance and a very nice cushy ride. I love the dual suspension. I can't believe they included that at this price point. But that takes a lot of the shocks out of roads anywhere. If you're just riding over curbs or sidewalks, If you run into bumps, if you got some bumpy trails or rocky roads, it's going to take all that shock out of the road and give you a real nice ride. This is an excellent bike, and we really look forward to taking some more rides, and we'll shoot some more videos in the future too and share them with you and let you know how we're coming along with the VARUN foldable electric bicycle.